Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about and review the Nexus Pro. Alright, so I know I'm kind of late to the party as this blaster was released in 2020 and here we are at the tail end of 2022. So I do know that I am a little late to the party, but I feel like this is a good blaster to add to our results chart, as well as kind of set a good standard for our reviews. The Nexus Pro, when it came out back in 2020, was kind of a breath of fresh air. It was a high-powered blaster that you could purchase on the shelf on a local Walmart store. It supported both half-length and full-length darts, although my youngest son has crammed half-length darts in here. Awesome. Thank you, Everett. Oh boy, that child. Anyway, half-length and full-length darts. It comes with a mag adapter so that you can insert it into the mag well itself. This allows you to use the half-length darts. It's got a pretty large removal pin here to pull out the actual magazine itself. I have made some upgrades to this blaster, but I've kind of stripped all of that away except for a couple, and I'll kind of talk about those right now. So the only two actual upgrades that I left in there just for time's sake, so I don't have to pull the blaster completely apart, is the safety delete, which is right here. This basically stops you from having to turn the safety on or off. And then also I've removed the larger orange mag release for this kind of smaller nub. The reason for that is I use half-length darts, and this extra paddle here does nothing but get caught on my gear. So I want to be completely upfront with you guys. So those two are the two modifications that are taking place here on this blaster. So for this review, it kind of came up from two different things. The first is I wanted to review this blaster for some time because this is my blaster. This is my primary weapon that I use in my Nerf wars. But there was also a viewer that wanted me to review it as well, and I thought that was an interesting request, seeing as how it is 2 years old at this point. So I was like, oh yeah, sure, definitely. So that kind of lit a fire into my butt to get this review out. But I wanted to unbox it for you guys, so I went to my local Walmart, and lo and behold, this blaster, this model, is not available on store shelves anymore. Now, I would say probably about 30 to 60 days ago, you could find it for on sale, $27, $29 in that price range. Normally it was a $50, $60 blaster, but I should have picked one up when I had the chance. At $27, that's a steal for this blaster. Now, when you go, you'll see that there still is a Nexus Pro on the store shelves. It unfortunately, unfortunately, depending on your taste, has a different paint job. So the long gone is the orange, the standard safety orange, and now they have like a pink and purple and black camo colored one. So I apologize. I am not going to be unboxing this for you, but like I said before, I have stripped this down to its bare stock performance, stock parts and things like that. So everything you see here, except for the safety delete and the mag release, this is all what you see that comes with the blaster itself. So you have a muzzle brake, which just friction fits into the front of the blaster here. It just marries up. I don't know if you can see that. It marries up to the internal metal blaster barrel there. So that just friction fits. It doesn't have any scarring or anything like that, so there's no like actual scar barrel, so it doesn't like put any type of rotation on the actual dart coming out of it. It does come with a buffer tube stock, which we will talk more about this later. That just kind of slides on there, and it is adjustable. I find that it's adjustable mostly one way. Like you can pull it out in certain spots, and sometimes it doesn't lock, sometimes it does, but pushing it in in all the spaces, even all the way out to the first one, it's in there pretty good. So it's a decent stock. It has a little bit of wobble. And then you get these 2 iron sights with a single post, and then this kind of almost like a grenade launcher like looking one, which is very funky. I don't know. I've immediately got rid of those and switched to a red dot reflex sight. Starting at the front here, you've got a front foregrip, a little bit on an angle, but yeah, front foregrip, and then you've got kind of a little bit of a rocky prime. I do want to let you know that this blaster, I did purchase this blaster 2 years ago, so it does, you know, it has seen some wars. In most of the battles, it was in a stock configuration as far as the spring is concerned. I just recently, at my last war, started using a spring spacer, but other than that, this has been a true stock blaster as far as the performance is concerned. So you've got, as far as like features on the actual blaster itself goes, you've got kind of this 2-step Picatinny rail across the top. Some people love it, some people hate it. The nice thing is that this gives you a little bit bump up for your sight, so you're not trying to go all the way down here. You've got a little bit of a bump here to give your optic a little bit of a rise for your eyes to go straight down the barrel. You do get to see some workings of the blaster itself, so you can see the plunger tube going back and then the actual chambering of the dart. Inside here you can see a little bit more of the internal workings and how it's all connected. You can see that the breech system pushing the dart into the breech and then sealing that up. It does have several O-rings in here, which is nice to see. It's not a perfect seal, but it does have a slightly better than normal Nerf Elite performance. Let's take a look at the actual firing performance, and then we're also let's look at the range test. So let's go ahead and head out on the range and see how she shoots stock out of the box and compare it to what we get for the other blasters. Let's take a look. Alright, next up we have Ventureforce Pro. These are the Ember darts, stock Nexus Pro. So first up we have the Nexus Pro in stock configuration. We have it with the Dart Zone Ruby darts. Let's go ahead and shoot 20 down range. We got 10 to 10. Aiming at dead center of the target. We are 30 feet away. Next up we have the Worker Gen 3 darts. It's purple with orange tips. Next up we have the Dart Zone Pro Bamboo darts. These are the Gen 2 ones. Stock. Next up, we've got Venture Force Ember Darts, stock Nexus Pro at 45 feet. So we are at 45 feet. We've got a Venture, we've got Dart Zone Max Ruby darts.
Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad.
Hey, bud.
Pew pew.
Yep, pew pew.
I say pew pew.
Camera. Everett, stop touching stuff, dude. Everett. Next up we have the Worker Gen 3 darts. These are the purple darts. Stock Nexus Pro at 45 feet. Next up, we're at 45 feet with the Dart Zone bamboo darts. These are the new ones. Stock Nexus Pro. Alright, so last up, we've got Worker Gen 3 purple darts. This is a stock Nexus Pro. We are at 60 feet and some change. Alright, next up we have a stock Nexus Pro Dart Zone Pro bamboo darts. We are at 65 feet. All right, guys, so we're back out from the range, and I have to say, this actually performed better than I anticipated, and kind of gave me a lot more, I guess, faith in this platform. I really enjoyed seeing the performance and like the accuracy and things like that. But before we get into that, let's talk about the numbers as far as the feet per second goes. So we were looking at several different darts. We put the Worker Gen 3, the Dart Zone Max Ruby, the Dart Zone Ember, and then the Dart Zone Bamboo. And I'd have to say, you know, all of them are superb options. Some are more durable than others, but performance-wise, looking at it, you definitely have the bamboo ones standing out over top of the rest. So the Worker Gen 3, those came in with a high of 159 and a low of 122 feet per second, averaging out 136 feet per second, again, over a 12 dart average. And the standard deviation for Worker Gen 3s was 8, so not too shabby there. The Workers, those did have the lowest high of all of them, but had the most consistent firing. So when you're looking at these different numbers, you know, you don't want to just look at which one hits the hardest. You want to look at, you know, standard deviation is, yes, it's going to hit the hardest, but how consistent is it? Am I going to be consistently shooting 150 feet per second, or am I going to be dipping down into the 100s? You know, or is it going to be going all the way up, you know, past 150? This is also important too for if you are looking to keep your blaster under a certain rating, because your play group or your event has a cap and you need to be under that cap. The standard deviation could really screw you over when it comes time to chronographing your blaster. So just keep that in mind when we go over these numbers. Next up, we've got the Ruby darts. These are the red ones with the gray tips. The Dart Zone Rubies came in with a high of 165, a low of 131, and then an average of 139. Standard deviation a little bit higher at 10. It was nice to see these hitting 165 just over, you know, that 150 range. Gives you a little bit more kind of reach out and touch your opponent ability, because they're going to travel a little bit further with that extra feet per second. The deviation, it kind of gives you a little rough around the edges. With the average being 139, you're under that 150 point range. So it's nice to see that, because, you know, you can look at the different events, and you can look at your different events. Some events say your average has to be under this amount, or you can't have any darts go over this amount. So make sure you check with your tournament. Tournament organizer or your event organizer and see what is kind of how your blaster needs to perform, so that you're not you know, using an illegal blaster. Next up, we have our Adventure Force Pro Ember darts. Those are the gray ones with the orange tips. These came in with an average of 127, which was the lowest of all four, a high of 167, and then a low of 133, and the worst, well, tied for the worst, standard deviation of 14. So this had the largest span from the highest to the lowest, which is kind of unfortunate. These, you know, these ones tend to, you know, in the past I've reviewed, they have had this similar kind of result, is, you know, the highest of the standard deviations of these four darts. And then last but certainly not least, coming in first in all three, high, low, and average, is the Dart Zone Bamboo darts. These are a little bit more expensive, coming in at 15 cents, which is, you know, like I said, you have to really kind of look at what your play style is and what you're looking to do with your blaster. Are you plinking? Are you going to events? What are you using? Is it just a backyard war? Stuff like that, where you need to figure out how much you're willing to spend. The bamboo darts are about 15 cents per dart. And then the AF Pro, the Ember darts, those are 12 cents. Ruby darts are 10 cents of dart. And then Worker Gen 3 are the cheapest at 8 cents of dart. So you want to kind of figure out where you fall at with these different darts, and how much you're wanting to spend versus how much you're willing to lose, because you will be losing darts when it comes to like outside play at events and things like that. In your backyard, you're probably not going to lose as many. You know, they're more recoverable. Unless you have dogs, then dogs like to chew them up. But anyway, getting back to the results here. So the Dart Zone bamboo darts came in with 220 on the high, 163 on the low, and then averaging out at 177 with a standard deviation matching that of the AF Pro's Ember darts at 14. Now, keep in mind, while the bamboo darts, you know, have the highest deviation, their low at 163 is right around the high of all the other darts, you know, 167, 165, and 159. So that standard deviation really doesn't mean too much for the bamboo darts because their low is already higher or right about on par with their competitors' low numbers. So, or excuse me, their high numbers. So that you know, that standard deviation, while it's going to affect, you know, how it performs for you in, you know, independently, you know, firing the blaster, like, okay, I'm going to shoot at this target, you know, or shoot at this person that's, you know, 60 feet away. Some darts might not make it there. Some darts might. But the thing is, you want to remember is if you're using these bamboo darts, you're doing much better than the other darts or on par of the other darts, no matter what you're firing, no matter which one comes out of the barrel. So yeah, if you can swing at the bamboo darts, obviously are the way to go with this particular blaster. And again, I don't really know why that is. I don't know if it's just the thicker rings that are on the top and bottom of each of the darts, give it that extra little bit of suction that kind of has the air forced out a little bit harder. I don't know. And this is all done on a stock Nexus Pro. We'll be doing a video towards the end reviewing all these blasters and doing the upgrades and things like that and going over what the numbers look like with specific upgrades. And, you know, we're going to pull a couple from various manufacturers and do all that fun stuff. But for now, this is all stock. And the numbers are quite impressive. 220 on the high for the bamboo darts that's nice. That's a nice number, and it's a nice competitive edge that you can gain over your opponents. So, you know, if your event allows you to shoot that high, you know, I would definitely recommend the bamboo dart. So that's the FPS results. Let's take a look at the accuracy and the precision results and see how these different ammo types or these different ammo manufacturers fare with the Nexus Pro. So first up, we have the 30-foot range, and that's kind of where we start every blaster. And you could see by the chart here that it's with the Nexus Pro, you're looking at the Ember darts, which are the ones that you get at those are the darts you get from Walmart. They're the gray ones with the orange tips that are very hard to find after you get done shooting them. But just looking at these results, like 30 feet, no problem, 95%. We just had one that was just under the actual target itself. This is a 2-foot target, so, you know, probably 2.5 feet, and it's dead center too, which is nice. So again, these are, you know, the second most expensive dart that you can have. But if you look at the target itself, you've got several that are inside that 12-inch diameter dot. You know, right on target, which is fantastic. Moving over to the Ruby darts, these are from Dart Zone. These are target darts. Something is really weird with this result, and we might have to take this with a grain of salt after we look at the 45, because it hit 55%, and I was shocked at that. And they're kind of all over the place too, because you've got some that are low, some of the, you know, one that's high, and you got a few that are off center. So I would take that with a grain of salt. Today was just a little bit on the windier side, so, you know, that could have played a part in it. But you know, our testing procedure outside is, you know, there's about a 16-foot space between the side of the house and the side of the fence, and it's a, you know, straight shot. So I'm not really sure how that affected, you know, if that did affect in any way, shape, or form. Next, let's look at the Worker Gen 3, 100% for the Worker at 30 feet. This is phenomenal. You know, a nice tight spread, 2 feet, a little under 2 feet in diameter as far as the spread's concerned. So precision is nice and really tight. Not quite that of the Adventure Force Pro Ember darts, but still a nice grouping, you know, in that 2 foot radius, or 2 foot diameter rather. And then last up, we've got our bamboo darts, and they hit 95% with one going high center. The rest, you know, just kind of like the Ember darts, you know, a great precision shot. Most of them going center, a little bit to the right, and you know, a good grouping, probably less than 1.5 feet, you know, as far as diameter goes. And then if you look at all of them together, and this is kind of interesting because you can see kind of where everything lines up and which is, you know, which one's more precise when it comes to each individual dart. And I'd have to say, you know, the Ember darts and the bamboo darts, they have a run for their money between the two of them. Now, if it was up to me, the bamboo darts, I think, would take an edge because I would rather have my dart go high than go low. That's just me. But, you know, the actual precision of both of those is pretty close and on par and within, you know, within margin of error. So next up, let's go ahead and switch over to our 45. And the first one I want to look at here is I want to look at the Dart Zone Ruby darts, because this is the one from the 30-foot range that I felt was kind of an oddball out. You know, with at 45, we hit a higher percentage at 65, which is strange, versus 55 at the 30 mark. So it gets better the further back you are. I don't know about that. So anyway, that's why I said take it with a grain of salt. This is just one blaster, you know, 20 shots at each of the, you know, at each target. Brand new darts, pack fresh. But yeah, 65, which isn't too bad. Not enough to get it to go, not enough in our testing to actually move it on to the 60-foot range. But still, 65 is not a bad job. And of the darts that hit, you know, they're, you know, within the 2 foot radius. There's 4 darts that fell short, and it's just, you know, the other ones are just outside. So not too bad at all. Next up, let's look at the AF Pros. We hit 60%. Again, a really good cluster. If you compare that to, you know, the 30-foot range, it's just down just a little bit, not even outside of, you know, outside of the target very much. There was a couple that floated to the left, but again, overall the cluster, the precision was phenomenal. Then let's move. We're going to move on to the Worker Gen 3. This one, compared to the 30-foot, got a little bit more spaced out. We started to see the darts drop just a little bit more, but the precision on the vertical axis still is phenomenal. You don't have darts flying off to the right or off to the left. They're, you know, they're right on par. Last up, we have our bamboo darts, and compared to the 30-foot range, we can start to see them kind of space out a little bit more, and kind of, you know, in the 30-foot range, we saw them kind of going to the right a little bit. This just kind of emphasizes that a little bit more, with missed shots kind of falling off to the right. There was only 3 of them off to the right, and we hit 75%, which is tied for the Worker, you know, average there. For the most part, they were just spread out over that 2 foot radius. We did have one go way high, which is kind of odd. It just went right. I think if my memory serves correctly, it went way over the fence, which is odd. So looking at the 45 foot range of all of them, you know, it's kind of you can start to see the scatter pattern kind of spacing out. So that 45 foot mark, not too bad for, you know, the actual bamboo darts and the Workers. So those two will continue on, and we'll move on to the 60 foot range, and you can kind of start to see where these start to fall apart. The Worker Gen 3 really struggled getting to the actual target itself. Several shots falling off camera, and most shots not even hitting the fence. We did hit one, so 1 of 20, so 5%. The bamboo darts, on the other hand, 30% from a 60-foot range. And again, this is brand new darts, flat shot, no angle or anything like that, at 60 feet. So, 30%, not too shabby. Again, you can start to see that spread a little bit more. And I think that, is more relevant more prevalent than any other dart because of the weight. These bamboo darts are slightly lighter, so they're I'm assuming, more susceptible to the wind. If you're playing indoors, you probably won't have as much of a spread when you're shooting a little bit further away. Compare the two together and you really kind of get the same kind of story. 60 feet really is too far for this stock blaster. You're really going to need to look to upgrade the spring or upgrade the actual spring spacer. We'll talk about that in another video. But for now, for the worker and the bamboo, I'd say 45-50 is probably your optimal range. And then for the other two, 30 seems to be about the best case scenario. Your AF Pro, the Ember darts, it fell off pretty quick. You're looking at 95% at the 30-foot range, and then dropping all the way down to 60% for the 45. The one thing you can keep in mind, though, is that actual grouping was a lot tighter. So you just need to bring your blaster up maybe 3 to 5 degrees, and you're going to hit that target every time at that 45-degree angle or 45-foot range. So, yeah, for this one, I feel like the Ruby darts really kind of were the lackluster of the bunch. The worker ones were solid at 30 and even performed really well at the 45. But I really do think the bamboo darts took the cake and finished great with the 45-foot, the 30-foot ranges, and it just kind of falls off from there, but it's to be expected, and that's where modding comes in and getting that extra 15 feet, the extra 20 feet, a little bit extra performance out of the FPS. But so that's the precision and the accuracy. So this little guy, not too shabby, not too bad at all. I will definitely be following up with the striker video, and then also we'll be looking at the Tomcat video, and then after that we'll do a full video reviewing all the numbers and kind of picking out which ones are the best. We'll be in that video probably looking at the upgradability and the modability for each of the blasters, and really kind of comparing them and finding out which one is a good fit if you're trying to get into the hobby and a good upgrade path. Making sure you can still find parts, because this one is only available on the funky color schemes, the gold plated one and then also the purple camo one. So yeah, it's going to be one of those things where we really need to look at what's available on store shelves, what's available online, how much you're looking to pay, what happens when something breaks. We'll talk about all that stuff, as well as like the upgrades and things like that in that final video. So stay tuned for the striker video coming out, and then also the Tomcat later on this month, in early December as well. So I'm still going to be using this as my primary. Who knows, maybe by the end of this, my primary might be switching. We'll take a look and see what happens. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. Make sure you get subscribed, do all that other algorithmic garbage that YouTube enjoys. I'm not going to ask you about it, but if you like what you see, maybe consider. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.